amazing audience. We are back again with another Total Drama My Way. Today we are bringing you episode 3, Total Drama World Tour My Way. So let's get into this. We are going to start with episode 27. The main thing I want to say that happens in episode 27 that's different from the original is that Katie and Sadie get into a massive fight and it's not solved, and Duncan and Courtney grow their relationship. And instead of Gwen argue with Heather, Gwen's now going to be arguing with Courtney. So let's get into who stays and who gets out. The people that are getting out will be Eva, Justin, Beth, Bridget, and Jeff. So with that said, let's move on to the teams in episode 1/episode 2. So the teams are going to be with Noah, Owen, Izzy, Alejandro, Duncan, Tyler, Ezekiel, DJ, Sadie, Katie, which means Team Amazon will be Courtney, Gwen, Lashana, Harold, Lindsay, Cody, Heather, Trent, and Sierra. So let's move into episode 1 and 2. Well, mostly episode 2. Here, I think Team Amazon's still going to win because Sierra still weaves the bow and she's going to be pretty good at that. And yeah, I don't think they'll have the camel since they'll still be in last place. But I feel like there's enough power there from all 9 of them to push it. Another thing to notice here is that Lindsay does remember who Tyler is, but Alejandro's going to be trying to swarm Lindsay to get Tyler mad. And Alejandro is also going to be swarming over Katie, so that way he can break up the relationship with Sadie, and so that way it cannot be solved. So the first thing everybody's going to want to do is get rid of Katie, since Katie and Sadie have been bickering this entire time. And they decided to get rid of either Katie or Sadie, and Alejandro's going to tell Katie to vote off Sadie, her best friend, which she does, and everybody else votes off Sadie. Sorry if that was a little confusing. Katie and Sadie are really annoying characters, and their names are similar. Episode 3, this one is the Japan episode, and for I feel like Team Amazon, they're still going to do the big donut thing, and Team Chris, they're still going to do their monster thing. I still think Team Amazon will lose the first part of the challenge with these 3 bickering, and there was going to be obviously some awkward tension between Gwen and Trent since how their relationship ended, with Cody breaking in between. So Gwen's going to be really mad at Cody during this entire time. Everybody here is going to kind of be hating Cody for what he did last season, except for Sierra, and Gwen's going to have to be on Lashana's shoulders when dealing with Courtney. But still, in episode 3, they still lose, and then they're going to have to do the second part of the challenge, and I still think they're going to lose the second part of the challenge, because, there's so many people there that it's, not going to work out, and they're all arguing and bickering, so even if it's down to Cody and Sierra, you still got Lindsay and Harold might try to do his vision, combining with Lindsay and Cody's, and it's just not going to work out. So they lose. And I feel like here, Alejandro's still going to convince Harold to do his self-sacrifice. You got to get Alejandro more of a villain. So Harold does his self-sacrifice. I think it may actually come down to him a little bit, since Heather would want to get rid of Lashana's quote-unquote friend. And we move on to episode 4/5/6. Episode 4, the Yukon challenge. Instead of Alejandro convincing Bridget to do it, he's going to kind of convince Lindsay to get eliminated. And I feel like she's going to be come closer, and then the pole's just going to get in the way, and she's just going to get stuck to it. She's not even going to try to kiss her. It's just she's going to get stuck to it because Lindsay is pretty dumb, and Alejandro's going to kind of convince her. And I feel like he's going to do this in private, so that way his team's going to find out. But Noah was actually going to try to be looking for Alejandro, and he's going to see this go down. So he knows Alejandro is no good, so he needs to warn everybody about it. Since Alejandro already kind of is getting Ezekiel, who had nobody, DJ, close friend, since DJ is really lovable, and Katie on his side. And he kind of was getting Tyler, so Noah needs to warn Tyler about Alejandro. Because in this episode, they lose because Lindsay, and then they vote off Lindsay. Episode 5, this one episode also, begins, Heather and Alejandro's, rivalry arc, where she tries to one-up Alejandro by switching out the baby carriages so they lose. Episode 6, the aftermath, that is not really important. So let's move on to episode 7. This episode, I don't think Alejandro would be trying convincing Lashana, since even while Harold's gone, she still has Gwen on her side, and I feel like even if he tried to, Gwen would try to be there for Lashana and tell her to snap out of it. So it comes down to the dance floor, since all the winners for the first part, they didn't really get anything. So it comes down to the dance floor thing. And I feel like for this one, instead of Lashana slapping Heather, Courtney's going to be getting mad at Gwen, because Gwen's going to be fighting against Duncan, and she's going to tackle Courtney to the ground, start slapping her, and then she slaps the tooth out of her. But I still think Team Amazon's going to win, because I still think Alejandra's going to self-sacrifice, and Sierra will win, proving her worth to the team. So they still win, and Team Chris has to vote somebody off. Noah would want to get rid of Alejandro, but right now Alejandro needs to get rid of Izzy, Owen's close companion, so she can separate Owen from everyone else by trusting only him. And I feel like Izzy trying to get rid of the meat statue this time and throwing herself in the grinder, it's a pretty good reason to get rid of her. So it's going to be Alejandro, DJ, Ezekiel, and Katie. And for voting for Alejandro will be Noah and Tyler, since Tyler convinced him after he got rid of Lindsay. And I feel like Duncan would be on the fence, but he'd rather believe Alejandro than believe the crazy woman. And Owen wouldn't know who to vote for. I don't think he would vote for either Alejandro or Izzy, but that doesn't matter because Izzy gets eliminated here. And we move on to episode 8 and episode 9. Episode 8, this episode is the episode where Heather gets her gold tooth. Instead, Courtney will get her gold tooth. And Gwen is still going to be the one to decide to go the opposite way, and Trent will be forgiving, and so will Cody, but Courtney will be mad, and Lashana will be mad. So when the votes are revealed, Gwen asks Courtney to please vote against Heather instead of voting for her, and Courtney doesn't say anything. But when Chris reveals the vote, it's going to be revealed that Courtney votes off Heather instead of Gwen, making Gwen happy that Courtney did this. Heather still doesn't get eliminated since this episode is still not elimination. So we move on to episode 9, the Paris episode. Also, Sierra is still mad at Cody. And this is going to be where Cody tries to ask Trent to help him in this episode. But Trent's going to say, nah, why don't you deal with this relationship? Seems like you have a lot of memory dealing with other people's relationships. Deal with your own. And then he's going to leave Cody by his own. And a lot of people are going to see this, including Noah. And he's going to kind of burn Cody for it. I still think that Team Amazon wins this part of this challenge, which means Team Chris has to vote somebody out. So during this challenge, Cody's going to try to want to reform his relationship with Trent, saying, look, I'll try to get Gwen to get back with you if you promise to help me vote off Sierra. And he's like, okay, we have a deal. So, Cody's going to be talking to Gwen a lot on the boat, and I feel like there's going to be 2 boats since it's a lot more people on each team, so there's going to be 2 boats each, and I feel like it's going to be these 4 against these 3, so there's going to be a lot of bickering with Sierra wanting to be obsessed with Cody, and Heather, Courtney, and Lashana bickering the entire time, and for Team Chris, it's going to be these for 4 DJ, Tyler, Owen, and Duncan, and Alejandro, Zeke, and Noah. And Noah's going to be talking to Alejandro and Ezekiel with a little suspicions in the way he talks, if I can put it that way. And for when they actually get off land and get into the challenge, Tyler's still going to be winning this challenge. Tyler and DJ, actually. I don't know which one would do which with here, but we know they both are capable of doing it. So I'm just going to stick with what happens, that they still are going to be doing really good at this challenge and they're going to win. So for the elimination, Team Amazon, like Trent promised, because Gwen's going to be talking to him a little more since Trent put in a good word, they're still going to vote off Sierra, because Gwen's going to be like, so, who are you voting for? And Trent's going to be like, Sierra, you? So all right, I'll do that. And Lashana will vote with Gwen, so it doesn't really matter who the other 2 vote for, since it won't be make any difference. Episode 11/episode 12. This episode is, they're still going to crash the plane. I just want them to crash the plane, because I don't really have anything else planned if they don't press the plane, because I don't know what the challenge would be then. But here are the people that are going to get into the infirmary. It's going to be Gwen, Duncan, and Ezekiel. So when this happens, Gwen and Duncan both wake up and they're in the infirmary, and they haven't really talked that much ever since Courtney was mad at Duncan for doing it. So they start chatting, both injured, and then Duncan, a little bit on laughing gas, I think that's what it's called. He's gonna be talking to Gwen, and then he's gonna get closer, and he's gonna get closer, and him and Gwen are gonna kiss. And then Ezekiel finally wakes up after being asleep, and he's going to see this happen. And then Gwen tells Duncan to get lost, and then she starts running out of the room injured. And then she sings a sad song about this with Chris, while Ezekiel just watched this all go down. And Duncan's then going to get really mad at Ezekiel and says if he says anything, he'll destroy him. And Gwen's going to sing a sad song about, how Duncan shouldn't have done this since he was finally building a relationship with Courtney, how he's so mad at him for this. So when it comes to the actual challenge and everybody's back on the thing, Team Amazon's still going to win here. I don't think they actually win. I think Team Chris wins. But I'm going to say they win here since Duncan and Ezekiel are both feeling down and they have, 3 uneven people. And Tyler and Alejandro, they wouldn't really go well as a mesh. And I don't know how they won, since Owen got his stomach stuck in the tube for 5 seconds. They're still going to lose. That's all. That's all I want to say. So when it comes down to the voting, Ezekiel says, all right, but you have to vote off DJ with me. I don't trust the guy. He's like, fine, we'll vote off DJ. So basically, these 3 vote off DJ, and Alejandro, now wondering how this happened, he still wants to give her to Duncan. So him and Owen will vote off Duncan. But it's no use since DJ gets eliminated. And there's also the aftermath, which is not really that important. It's still to save the show. So we move on to episode 13, the London Challenge. And Alejandro's going to be noticing the tension between Ezekiel, Duncan, and the relationship, how Gwen is a little tense around Courtney. So Trent's going to try to be comfort Gwen, and Duncan is going to be making sure that Ezekiel doesn't say anything. So during the actual challenge, Alejandro's still going to get captured first, and it's going to be Gwen and then Duncan. And on the plane, Gwen and Duncan are going to be talking, and Gwen's going to be like, why would you do that? You're in a relationship with Courtney, and I'm trying to fix things with Courtney and Trent. And then she's going to be like, at least nobody knows. And Duncan's going to be like, well, Zeke does. Now Alejandro's going to hear that Zeke knows this, so when Ezekiel gets captured, he's going to want Ezekiel to start talking. So Ezekiel does start talking, and then things get a little hectic. But still, for this episode, Team Chris will win this, and I feel like here, Courtney is kind of now with good friends with Gwen. And then in their when they're about to vote someone off, Heather's gonna notice how Alejandro's being sneaky with around Ezekiel. So he's gonna be starting to talk. Heather's gonna be starting to talk to Gwen, asking what's up, and then Gwen's gonna spill the beans because she's just desperate now and she doesn't know what to do. And it's gonna be like, that's Duncan's fault. You should be telling Courtney about this because that's on Duncan. And Gwen's gonna be like, really? And then Heather and Gwen are gonna kind of form a relationship here, since Gwen was really stressed and she didn't know what to do since she wanted to be friends with Trent again, and now Duncan's doing this stupid thing by kissing her. So then Heather's gonna be like, so who do you want to get voted off? And then Gwen's like, I'm still mad at Cody since he's the whole reason me and Trent voted off. Let's vote him off. So Gwen and Heather do that, and Gwen's going to convince Lashana to do that. So it doesn't really matter who Cody, Gwen, and Trent are going to vote for, since I don't think they're going to vote for the same people. So Cody gets eliminated here. So we move on to episode 14, the Olympic Challenge. So for the Olympics, I still think that it's going to be Duncan and Gwen, and they're going to sing a song about how mad she is at Duncan and how she never should have done that. And after this, she's going to be starting to talk to Courtney about it. He's going to be say, look, Courtney, Duncan did something really stupid, and I want to tell you about it. And like, what did Duncan do? And then Chris is going to be like, all right, Courtney, you need to be in this next part of the challenge. so she can't tell. And then Alejandro, during the brawl, is going to be like, Ezekiel, please tell everybody what Gwen did to Duncan. And then Ezekiel's going to spill the beans. Duncan's going to be so mad he starts fighting Ezekiel. And Team Amazon will win the second half of the challenge with Courtney very mad at Gwen. And now Gwen is confused with Heather and Lashana on her side right now. So for the challenge, for the remaining part of the challenge, for like the thing between Heather and Alejandro, she's going to be like, I know what you're doing, as they're racing across. So Heather's still going to beat him, and he's going to like, take that, sucker. So for the flying part, it's going to be either Trent against Noah or Tyler. And I feel like Trent here is going to be like, okay, I have to do this for Gwen. So he's going to keep flying up and flying up and flying up, even knowing that Gwen kissed Duncan. He doesn't care. He's still going to do it for Gwen. So he receives the medal, and then he gives the medal to Gwen, meaning that Team Amazon wins the challenge. So with all this tension arrived, Duncan is going to be very mad at Ezekiel, so Alejandro is going to use this against Duncan. But he wants to get rid of Duncan first, so he must do that, so that way Team Amazon can't really find out the truth of what happened with Duncan's alibi. So he's going to tell Ezekiel to vote off Duncan with those two, and everybody's kind of going to be mad at Duncan, including Owen, which means it's up to these three to figure this out. So they're going to vote off Ezekiel, and it's going to be a tie between the three of them. But I feel like Tyler here, for enough convincing Alejandro would vote off Duncan, because, like, he is a pretty bad guy for cheating. Because he's like, I'll never do that to my Lindsay. How dare he? So Duncan actually gets eliminated here. And this is going to cause some tension, because now Courtney is, like, sure that Gwen is in the wrong here. But it's going to be Heather that reassures her that Duncan kissed her. You can go ask Ezekiel himself. He was the one that saw it, that Duncan kissed her. She didn't want that to happen. So Ezekiel's going to be like, yeah, that's what happened, I swear. And Alejandro is going to be very mad at this. And Noah is going to be very, very interested to hear this information. So in the Area 51 challenge, I still think Tyler is going to be the reason they cost the challenge. So I feel like people would just vote off Tyler, which means he gets eliminated. So now we move on to episode 16. I feel like here Alejandro would be trying to comfort Courtney, but Courtney's like, no, I don't want your freaking sympathy. You try to manipulate me by saying Duncan kissed Gwen. Gwen kissed Duncan. But Duncan kissed Gwen, you heartbreaker. And Alejandro's going to be stunned by this. He's going to be like, fine. And in episode 16, I feel like he's going to be very mad, while Noah's very pleased by this. And Noah's also kind of be talking to Owen like, dude, you can't trust Alejandro. You have to stop following him and voting for whoever he wants to vote for. He's like, all right, fine, buddy, for you, Noah. I still think here Team Amazon loses the challenge. But during the challenge, Alejandro's going to be swinging over Lashana, causing her to lose her balance, and they would have had the winning sheep had Lashana not taken so long on her emu while being distracted by Alejandro. So I feel like here, Heather and Courtney would be okay with voting off Lashana, and Trent kinda as well. So they get rid of Lashana, and then episode 16 happens where Gwen's upset that Lashana's gone, and now she's super sad. So we move on to episode 18, the aftermath. This episode's actually pretty important because it brings back another character, and that character is going to be Katie. Great to have you back, Katie. And now we are also moving into the merge, so we're going to have this displayed. But Chris also said that Duncan had a quick message for Gwen saying, well, not message, like video call from Gwen calling in to see how she was doing. And she's like, I don't want to deal with you. And then she throws a rock at the TV and saying, I'm done with you, Duncan. And Courtney's going to be pretty shocked by this. So Katie is obviously very mad at Alejandro, but Alejandro's going to say he didn't want to be so sad, so he didn't want to show his emotions in front of all the men in the rooms. Katie's going to be kind of understanding, but not quite yet. And Alejandro is also going to be trying to, like, saying to Heather, all right, how about this? You and I are both very strong competitors. Why don't we wait to the end to join together? And he's going to be like, no, I'm making sure you get eliminated. So those two are also going to be appearing for this one, causing Katie to be mad at Heather. And I feel like here Gwen and Trent will be pairing. Ezekiel and Courtney, because I think that'd be funny. And Owen and Katie, because I feel like they have similar personalities, and those personalities would shine out here. And if you notice, Noah's kind of left out, because Noah will be stuck with the bear. Alejandro and Heather are going to actually win this challenge, because Alejandro realizes he needs to win this challenge. So when it comes to the elimination ceremony, I feel like this is where Zeke has his time to go. Because, he's going to be pretty annoying throughout this episode and annoying off Courtney. And Gwen's going to be trying to fix her relationship with Courtney. Since Courtney understands, but she's still kind of mad at her for this. And everybody that's with Gwen on this is going to try to get rid of Ezekiel. And Alejandro, realizing this, he's going to try to be getting rid of Trent. So that way Gwen can't, fix her relationship with Trent. So he's going to do that with Katie. And Owen would normally side with Alejandro. But this time he's going to say, no, I'm voting off Ezekiel. I'm done with you controlling on who I vote for. So Ezekiel gets the boot and Owen gets a little redemption. So now Alejandro wants to get rid of Owen, which is not good news for Owen. Thankfully, though, Owen wins immunity by shoving all the food down his gullet. So he actually has immunity this episode, and Alejandro realizes he's at stake. So he needs to get rid of Courtney fast. So he tells Noah that they need to side together to get rid of Courtney. Because right now, Courtney and Gwen, Trent and Heather, they're a strong alliance. Noah realizes that he's correct, so they decide to get rid of Courtney. So for the votes, it's going to be Noah against Courtney. So for this, Alejandro would also vote her off. Same with Katie, same with Owen. So then Gwen is going to vote off herself. She doesn't want Courtney to go home, and she's going to tell Trent and Heather to vote her off too. And then here, you think it wouldn't be a tie, but I feel like here, Noah, she'll ask Noah to vote her off too with her, and Noah's like, fine, get the weird goth girl out of here. So him and Owen also vote off Gwen, and Courtney already knows she's going home. She hears Alejandro talking about it, and she hears Noah and Owen talking about this. So, and then it was revealed that Gwen voted against herself, and it would have been Courtney who's going home had she not have done that. So Courtney's going to be like, you saved me? Thank you, Gwen. I forgive you. And Gwen's going to be pretty happy about hearing this. Episode 21, this is the Feral Zeke challenge, but instead of hunting off Feral Ezekiel, they'll be hunting off just a random deer. Courtney's going to be pretty sad about Gwen getting eliminated, causing Heather to be here for her, making Alejandro pretty mad since this isn't what he wanted. He wanted Gwen and Courtney to Gwen and Heather to kind of argue about Courtney being gone. So this is going to kind of get him mad. And Noah's going to be trying to now convince Katie, Alejandro's just using you, right? And she's like, what? He's like, he doesn't like you. He already tried manipulating Lindsay. He already tried manipulating Lashana. He's just using you. And then instead of Alejandro has a chance to win, instead of doing that, Katie shoots Alejandro instead. And Alejandro falls flat. And then he's actually going to, pretend that it hurt himself and, cause the deer to, scratch him up. So everybody's going to be mad at Katie because of this. And I feel like it doesn't really matter who wins besides Katie. So Katie's actually going to get eliminated in this episode. And along with her, and Chris reveals, all right, this is actually going to be a double elimination. So the 6 of you'd have to decide who to get rid of next. And Alejandro is going to be wanting to get rid of Owen because of what he did to him. So he's going to be talking to Heather and Courtney, saying how Owen was a big threat in the eating challenge. So he's going to be like, yeah, you're kind of right. And also, Owen and Noah have their relationship. So instead of voting off Alejandro, they vote off Owen. So we move on to episode 22/23/24. The reason I have this is because, episode 22 will be elimination, but episode 23 is still it's still going to be elimination. Episode 24 is the aftermath. So let's get into that. Episode 22, the egg challenge. I feel like the pairings will be the men against the woman. And it's going to be, pretty strong. This is where Heather and Courtney really start to grow their relationship and start fighting against Alejandro. And Noah and Trent and Alejandro, they're going to be bickering the entire time. So I feel like the girls here would actually win this challenge since both of them will win, since that's how I want to do it for my way. If you want to change it, then make your own my way. Took me 2 hours to make this. Do it yourself. See how hard it is. See how fun this will be. So here, Noah and Alejandro have to agree to either get rid of Trent or get rid of him. He said, nah, I'm voting you off. They said, fine, then I'm getting rid of you. So he's going to tell Trent the same thing, and Trent's going to be like, fine, I'll vote off you. And then here, Heather and Gwen. Heather still kind of likes Alejandro, so she's actually going to be getting rid of Noah. So it doesn't really matter who Courtney or Noah vote for. So that means Noah is gone. R.I.P. Noah. So now we move on to episode 23. So in episode 23, I feel like it's going to be like the bone episode. I feel like this is where Alejandro and Heather, they kind of form their own thing. And he's like, fine, but we get rid of Trent tonight. He's like, all right, deal. And then Heather's going to tell Courtney about this. She's like, okay, two of them vote off Trent. And we move on to episode 25. And in this episode, I feel like Alejandro thinks she has Heather under her thumb and that she's completely ignored her relationship with Courtney. So the two of them are going to work together to beat Alejandro. And so when it comes to the boat racing, Heather's going to be in Alejandro's boat, and he's going to stab the boat, causing the boat to sink, and they jump into Courtney's boat. But Alejandro's still going to win, so it's going to be a tie between Courtney and Heather. So in this tiebreaker, they're going to fight, and then Courtney's going to lose to Heather, which means the finale is going to come down to Heather and Alejandro. Thank you for watching this my way. I hope you guys might want episode 4. Leave it down in the comments below, but I will not be doing that next. I'm going to be doing a recreation of my first ever total drama video, so that will be pretty fun. But yeah, like, subscribe. We're super close to 700 subscribers. I mean, if we hit that, that would be incredible. But yeah, see you later. Bye!